Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From the BetMGM Sportsbook at the beautiful Beau Rivage in Biloxi. Welcome to Monday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Glad to have you with us on a Monday. Brian Kelly press conference is a part of our Monday show that comes your way at 11:40. Should be interesting today. We've got a couple more of these before. In fact, this one and next week before we wrap up the regular season. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Yeah, another terrific weekend here at the Beau Rivage. Lively day yesterday. You know, they do this this thing here where with partner properties of properties that have NFL teams. They bring people in to go to the Saints game.
The junkets, huh?
The junkets, yeah. So we saw the Detroit junket last year where the place turned, what do you call it, Hawaiian blue?
Yeah. Honolulu blue.
Honolulu blue, yeah. And yesterday we got to sit next to all the Cleveland fans that came in on the junket that MGM put together.
They're really nice till the game started.
We sat next to a guy, down the way from him, and every time Jameis Winston would make a bad play, he would get Winston off the field. This gentleman was probably,
threw for 350 and 2 TDs, no interceptions, huh?
Yeah, and this gentleman's an older guy, and I asked you, I said, how many quarterbacks do you think he's thrown off the field? Being a Cleveland Browns fan his entire life, I mean, the number's got to be triple digits. But they were a lively bunch, and they send some of the fans to the game. Some of them stay here, so it's always a fun. You tell me all the time. I've been here a few times, but not as many as you for the SEC games on Saturdays, and so this is a great place to watch a game. If you ever get the chance to come down here for a weekend and check out the college action and the pro action, it's great. What wasn't great was LSU's loss on Saturday.
But let me with the Cleveland guy, and they were all decked out, and they were here early, making sure they had a seat, asking me if they're going to be on the big screen. I confirmed for it. Yeah, it's Saints playing the Saints. They're going to have it on. The audio will be back here where we broadcast and stuff like that. And I mean, he is screaming from jump at Jameis, and then they score a touchdown and. He and this woman are doing some sort of polka dance like they're in a German beer garden or something. I mean, it was so bizarre, man.
Winston threw for 395, 2 touchdowns and no picks.
395?
395.
Did that lead the league?
Unless Burrow got him last night, it might have.
I don't think Burrow threw for 400.
I don't think he did either.
He threw for 300.
356.
Yeah.
356, so...
Maybe Goff. Did Goff throw for 400? They ran it up. They had like 650 yards offense.
Did they get him out of No, he did. He threw for 412.
Yeah.
412.
Yeah.
412. So we get to the NFL in a little bit, but we start with Florida and the 27-16 win over LSU. A confidence-breaking loss, maybe.
Whose confidence are you talking about? Media, fan base, Brian Kelly, players?
Yes.
All administration?
You have to wonder, don't you? You have to wonder.
Oh, if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But and I just can't believe how many people think that LSU should consider firing him. That is
right.
So, and look, fans are fans. I get it. We're more ingrained in this. That's such a. COVID taught us nothing's 100% or 0%, but 0.01% chance. I mean, it's not happening. And he's outperformed all the other major hires that year. It's kind of gone in the tailspin. We would think year 3, we expect more than year 2 and more than year 1, don't we?
You're going in the wrong direction
right
now.
So that's I understand fan unrest. And this is – but I was just floored how people were getting emotionally upset that, no, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and when you go out and you spend that kind of money, you sort of lock yourself in financially to some things. And, Scott Woodward's getting questions about, hey, listen, is this the way to go? Dan Wolken, who I can take or leave as a columnist, but, last week wrote a deal about, hey, you know what, this is twice he's done this. He locked A&M into a deal with Jimbo Fisher that they had to –
that's fair.
Wanted to get out of way before they did, and it was very costly when they did. The flip side of it is, do you want to go and hire a coach with less of a resume to a far lesser deal? And that's why the ADs have, the job that they do. But I do have an idea of this is not something that's normal to LSU. 3-game losing streaks have been rare in the last 25 years. And so, I mean, you've had 3 of them. DiNardo had 1, Miles had 1, Ogeron had 1, and it was all the years that they got fired.
DiNardo's pre-Saban. That's pre-tradition fun. That's a big deal.
It was 1999. I picked 25 years, just round number. But yeah.
But I mean, this is LSU's resources ramped up when they changed the ticket policy between the 2002, the 02, and the 03 season.
Miles had his in 2015, late in the season, and everybody thought he was gone, right?
Wait, what?
Miles had his in 2015, which was the year everybody thought he was getting fired. The famous,
and they fired him at 16?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Ogeron had his in 2021, and he was fired in the season. So, if you're not paying attention to the contracts and all the other external stuff, you just say, you lose 3 in a row, you got to start about talking about firing the coach. And that's not where we are. I don't.
No, not even close. And
No.
And I misspoke last week. I don't know if it was on the air or off the air. It all blends together. When you ask me, he's not on the hot seat with the deal. Would he be on the hot seat with? And I have to go back. No, he's not on the hot seat even if he had a 5-year deal instead of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
I misspoke on that. There would be a little bit more pressure and things. The 10-year deal makes it cements it. But we just went through his conference record not long ago, right? Mm-hmm. And even with the losses, it's still pretty good. Is it not?
It is.
Now, I can't. Now, listen, it's embarrassing. We have ridiculed Billy Napier.
Yep.
Sunbelt Billy. Absolute ridicule. So that's it. That's a shot to your pride for a guy that's lucky to be retained, and they gave him the benefit of the doubt. And, we got 1 lineman out. They got about 8 of them out. Come on,
4 defensive backs. No, he went 6-2 his first 2 years, and he's 3-3 this year. That's 15-6. That is not a fireable
Not even
record.
Close. Not even close. Even if he had a year-to-year deal. No.
Now I can spin it any way you want. Okay. I think we've talked enough about the 10-win seasons. They mean a lot less when you add in the rental wins and you add in a meaningless bowl game. The 10 wins don't mean what it did 10 years ago when everybody still paid attention to bowls. Okay, that's completely fair. The 2-7 record since the Alabama game his first year against ranked teams. Okay, we don't pay attention to rankings a whole bunch, but
it's just at least a little barometer.
Those are the better teams.
No, that's what we use the rankings for.
Those are the better teams. You're 2-7.
2-7? I said 2-11.
No, 2-7.
Okay.
2-7 against ranked teams. So, okay, that's rough. That's now you're getting into, okay, man, there's a real problem, and because you can beat all of the Arkansas of the world you want, and that's a good win. Okay, Texas struggled there, Tennessee lost there, but it ain't going to get anybody really excited. Okay, those games where, hey, listen, the whole world's watching. First place is on the line at A&M. You lay an egg. Hey, the whole world, they came back. They're still watching. You're playing Alabama. You lay an even bigger egg there, and then you go against a team that's got a quarterback that's playing seriously compromised. Okay, I give Lagway a lot of credit. I thought he played with a lot of guts on Saturday because he could not run. He hung in there. He made some throws. It was clear he was limited, and
He showed me a lot of heart,
a lot of guts. Absolutely,
yes.
They responded.
Some leadership qualities, and it's actually going to help him in his development because it forced him to be committed to the public. We know he can move a little bit.
Yeah.
He's not like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels,
no,
but he can move.
He can, and he's
big
got a
size.
monster arm.
I think he impressed on a lot of us because a lot of them 5-star-itis guys, man. And there, when things go sour, we're hearing a lot about that about LSU, but a little entitled, a little arrogant, a little,
It was on
whatever.
display. You got players yelling at the coach and coach yelling at the players. Now, I'm all for hard coaching. It's a little less prevalent in 2024 than it was, before. But I don't mind hard coaching. But when you see this, what appears to be a disconnect, when you talk last Monday, the word of the day was consistency. He used it over and over and over again. But after the game, Whitweek says, hey, there was a defense on the last touchdown that Florida scored. Half the defense was playing one play, and half the defense was playing the other. That's pretty bad. Your offensive line playing with, one of the worst games I've seen, and no sense. Okay, so you get beat. Your guy beat you. That stinks. No sense of urgency at the end where the chance to win is remote but still there. You weren't down 40. You were down 2 scores. And you just don't see that sense of urgency that they needed to play with. That's concerning. You lose a recruit right after the game. That's concerning.
Oh, really?
One of the linemen decommitted from LSU, went to Ole Miss right after the game.
God.
And if you think that timing is coincidental, you don't know Lane Kiffin at all. Okay, so
yeah. Hey, man, no honor in the recruiting game.
No, everything is fair game. So,
That's right.
And you're a few weeks to signing day. You got this monster class. Everybody's nervous as hell about that. So if you're not greatly concerned about what has happened in the last month, you're not paying attention. It doesn't mean, well, okay, man, the last month has been absolutely awful and he's got to go. No, and that is not the case. And you also have a great deal of money, tied up in the staff that you reworked, to erase the mistakes that you had before. But when Kelly is there with a play sheet on Saturday, and I believe that if he wasn't directly calling the plays, he certainly had a much stronger hand in it than he did before. Then you have to question, what Joe Sloan's role will be in the last 2 games. Maybe he'll clarify that today. I don't know. But there is plenty to be concerned about, having watched the last 3 games for LSU. And to me, they've gotten progressively worse, Jimmy. The game against A&M, you had the lead. You were playing pretty well. Midway through the third quarter to make a quarterback change, caught you flat-footed. Shouldn't have, but they did. The Alabama game, you got completely wrecked when all of the factors were in place for you to play well and really make a statement, and you just absolutely blew up. And then this game where, I'm sorry, I think with the available personnel on Saturday, LSU was way better than what that score should have been. I'm not telling you they should have gone in there and blown Florida out. They were not a huge favorite or anything like that. But do I think they had more personnel on the field than Florida? A little bit. And I think Florida, the box score is so bizarre that LSU held the ball for better than 2/3 of the game. This unwieldy third down conversion percentage, 13 out of 24 that you never see, and throw in 2 other fourth downs. And you still can't get in the damn end zone.
I've been evaluating and analyzing box scores since I was 7 years old, Charlie. This is one of the most bizarre ones. That's not the game. And listen, the game was in the balance until the very end. So those runaway box scores are completely. We throw those out.
Yeah.
Because it's garbage time. There was no garbage time in this game. This game was close. It was lead changes. I mean, how much time when the guy busted the last run? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
It's so for 57 minutes you had, the box score was telling. And they just did some sloppy things. And I think Mike Delicano brought up a big piece too. We're killing the offensive line, and rightfully so, but damn, you're taking away Nussmeier's aggression. So he's holding the ball now. A big chunk of those sacks were coverage sacks. So just in the disconnect, like you said, man, how guys were just running out of position in the Alabama game, and then they're talking. I don't know, man. this NIL era, this payroll era. I don't know. It's very interesting, and he's got to get. In tough times, you would hope that he would get the respect or get his roster's attention. See, when you get humbled, it's easy to coach. When you got so many things to show on film. No, we're doing this wrong. You get. Rohan talked about it yesterday, and for them to go out like that, I just don't. Yeah, concerning. He's a good coach, man. He's taken but this is he's going through a rough patch right now. When I thought it was just they're going to go through this 9-3, the roster's not great, could make it into the playoff, but not a serious threat. And then you got your recruiting class. He reworked his staff, built for recruiting, and they're going to get more like LSU's roster. But now you got this where I don't know. It's a fun. He said he's got some adversity in his program, and that's when your true leadership comes. We know he can X and O. He's developed quarterbacks. He's gotten the most out of some very limited quarterbacks in personnel when he was at Notre Dame and the other stops as well. And overall, his record's still good. The 4 major hires, he's clearly more successful than Venables, Napier, and Lincoln Riley. Clearly. Those places are trying to win football games too. But he's got some adversity right now. There's no doubt. Carl was on with Lombardi today on VSiN. The first thing they asked him, Carl, on the Bayou, what's going on with Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
And so
we'll probably get into this more later in the week. I just want to bring it up now. There's one gigantic hole in his resume pre-LSU. Of all the years at Cincinnati, they were all good. All the years at Central Michigan after the first one, he was ascending. And all the years at Notre Dame were pretty good, save one. In 2016, they completely imploded and went 4-8. I mean, it is the one splotch on the white carpet of his resume, and I can't tell you what happened that year. I don't know. I'm not well-versed in the 2016 Notre Dame. But this has happened to him at least once before, where the whole thing went to hell. And he turned it right back around. Usually when you have a season like that, it's hard to turn it around the next year. And he did. They came back and won 10 wins the next year. But that 1 year, and I can't tell you what happened that year, but this has happened to him at least once before in his career, where one season completely imploded, and this one won't be that bad. They've already won 6 games. But maybe we'll get to that a little bit later in the week. We're here at the Beau Rivage, the BetMGM Sportsbook, one of the premier properties. We're talking with the folks from Cleveland when they said, the property in Cleveland is nothing, is not nearly as nice as this one. You can go right next door to the new Coraline's seafood restaurant.
Ate there last night.
Yeah, didn't you get one of the
best?
Scant
grouper.
Yeah, how was that?
It was great. It was great, man. Yeah, really good stuff, man. The bartender also he's a third level sommelier too, so suggested some wine with it as well. So no, it was really good. Really good. During the day, or if you come, it's overlooking the water and stuff like that. It's fine.
It's a terrific shows here at the Beau Rivage concert last night. The holiday season's coming up. Can't wait till they decorate this place here in a couple of weeks, right around Thanksgiving. There's a showing of Elf. They do a stage version of Elf here, which if you want to look to do something family oriented and get some of the shows down here at the Beau Rivage. The shopping here is pretty good too. They had one of those promotions going yesterday. There's always something going on at the Beau Rivage. You need to come down here. A very short drive from Baton Rouge. This is Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand at LouisianaSports.net or 1045ESPN.com. We have a new Handycast posted on YouTube tonight as we go through the film of LSU and Florida. Jimmy, we talked about this on Football Sunday yesterday with Rohan, who, like Richard Dixon on the post game, and I'm sure the guys this morning, the former players, really upset about what happened on Saturday. It started early for me. Now, we didn't know this in pregame, but we found out right on the broadcast, right as they're starting, that LSU had to suspend 2 upperclassmen, Braden Swinson and Sage Ryan, for conduct detrimental or whatever wording they used. He had to suspend them both for the first quarter, and I thought to myself, this is a bad sign. You're coming off of this embarrassing loss. Talk about a time to focus and have your leadership really step up. Your upperclassmen, these 2 starters, these guys that have been in your program, and for Swinson's had a really good year. That they were suspended for whatever they were, and if it was 1 quarter, it was probably pretty minor. But nothing seems minor when you're in this.
I don't think you're overblowing it. I mean, no, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, that speaks to where your locker room is, and that kind of played out over the course of the day when you see, coaches yelling at players and players yelling at coaches, and we've kind of been through that. And then the very first drive, Kelly talked about consistency and execution. Well, right out of the gate, you're playing. This is the 5th play from scrimmage, and you're playing 4th and 1 up near midfield. And you come to the line of scrimmage, and you're in a heavy formation. And, of course, everybody's, piled up at the line of scrimmage for Florida. It's a 4th down and 1. You're going to push the quarterback for a yard. You're going to hand it off. What are you going to do? They call timeout. I can't understand that one, okay? Because it's like sometimes you get up there and you see a look you don't like. What look were you expecting? You got a heavy formation. It's 4th and 1. What do you think? They're going to be playing prevent? So I don't know why you got to call timeout there. If you weren't expecting that, then shame on you. But essentially that's a waste of timeout to me. You're still in
part of the game. Was that first half or second half?
That was 5th play of the game. You're still in the script at that point. You got to have a short yardage play in your script.
I know, but the first half timeouts are not as valuable as a second.
I get it. That's right. But but the fact that you had to call one because you should be able to anticipate situations within the script.
Yeah.
A short yardage, a long yardage, a red zone. All of that should be built in there. And you got to call a timeout there. But what they came out in, which was, in a gun and a spread formation, you run you run a jet sweep, a little shovel pass to Thomas, and on the edge, to set the edge, you have Trey'Dez Green, who is a terrific-looking prospect, but is not a blocker.
He's the worst blocker in the team.
God bless him. I
don't care what he's built like.
Yeah.
He has no desire to block. If you watch him at all in high school, no.
So this is in the script. A 4th and 1. I'm not going to call it a crucial 4th and 1. There were 57 minutes left in the game. But it's a 4th and 1, a tone setter. And you call timeout to get into this to run that.
No, he's at the point of attack. No. I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, come on.
No.
If this is later in the game and you're
but Charlie, they've been listening to him as a tight end, since he was signed. And I'm like, how's he going to play tight end? He don't want to block. He's built for physicality. He does not want. He's a lot like Eric Gilbert. And now, I'm talking about just on the field.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not talking about all Eric's,
stuff, sure.
His challenges and things like that. I'm talking about a big guy that can run, but really doesn't want. He has shown nothing that's going to make you believe that you can use him attached as a tight end in a blocking format, much less on short yardage, crowded box at the point of attack.
So, again, you're at the point of the game where you should have your best stuff, and that's what you come up with. Running 92 plays, which to score 16 points and run 92 plays, you could go through 1,000 football games and never see that. This is why I think Kelly had a hand in play calling. And if not outright calling the plays on Saturday. And if he wants to call the plays, it's fine. You'll go through it here in a second, but he's called plays plenty with a great deal of success in his career. So if he wants to call the plays, that's fine. But they ran the ball 44 times out of the 92 plays, suggesting there's a lot more balance in this thing that had been lacking. And they averaged – once you take the sack yardage out, a little over 4 yards a carry, so it's okay. I mean, for
they got a little
especially at the beginning of the third quarter, they ran the ball well.
It's almost 50-50.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But it suggests, well, he had to step in and call the plays because they weren't getting that. He makes a quote the other day. He says, "Listen, play action ain't fooling anybody when you've thrown the ball 10 times in a row." So wonderful that he stepped in. You wonder why maybe that didn't happen a little bit sooner. But Kelly's had a great deal of success with far less talented quarterbacks than Nussmeier calling plays. I mean,
Ian Book, some others and they always were. I mean, remember the Music City Bowl. That guy was making his first start, and I mean he really does.
Did Kaiser come into that game? Was that Kaiser?
No, that was Malik Zaire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, the lefty,
Yeah.
and
Made LSU up.
Yeah, and he's just. I've seen him with some very mediocre talents turn into some pretty impressive production, and he's a sharp offensive guy, and I mean I credit him with some of Jaden Daniels' development. But they what they go back though was Nussmeier not protecting the ball, and they're trying to give it. Well, they're also taking a little aggression from him, and he's holding on to the ball longer. He got beat up on Saturday. It's just there's a lot of blame to go around. I mean, listen. Florida has been competitive now with either Mertz or Lagway. I mean, they went to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville and probably should have won, but Mertz got knocked out of that game. Lagway in Jacksonville, neutral site against Georgia. Georgia's pretty damn good. And, I mean, they compete. So, and this is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, not just for the LSU game. Napier has control of his locker room. That is for when you are struggling that bad and losing at a place like Florida, and you still got your guys playing hard. I mean, that's the difference. Both guys are in their third year. Not much was expected of Florida this year with that schedule. It was an impossible way to try. They're good. They're probably going to be bowl eligible now. They're good. They're better than Florida State. They should beat them. So, and Kelly looks like when LSU was a borderline 50-50 type of shot to make the playoff, and now that's pretty much out. They haven't handled the adversity as well. I mean, Billy Napier's dealt with some adversity, and it's something that Rohan and I identified as, okay, he has a lot of blame for the slide of that program and the results, but that's one positive thing, that he's got that locker room and those guys were playing hard. The fan base was in it. Maybe LSU's a big deal when they come to town.
They are. I've been told that by the Florida people that they sell.
It's a big deal.
That was why they pushed so hard for years to keep that permanent opponent, because they knew they could guarantee a sellout for LSU for whatever reason. And I'm like,
you worried about selling out the Swamp?
Exactly. Now, let me run a couple of numbers by you here, because this is in the last three games, and I got a decent idea as to why. LSU's offensive rate has gone down drastically. They are gaining 0 or negative yards on 39% of their plays.
What?
0 or negative plays on 39% of their snaps the last 3 weeks. This is another one that you're going to hate. Average air yards per completion. You want to take a guess?
Average air yards, about 6 yards.
3.3.
Oh, my God.
In the last 3. They averaged on Saturday 4.3 yards per play. You know what they averaged against Ole Miss? 5.6. Ole Miss's defense a little bit more talented than the one they saw Saturday?
Yeah.
By a lot. And so this is what's happened in the last – I'm trying to figure out what's happened in the last month. Okay, it was a month ago you beat Ole Miss. It was a good team. Okay, maybe you got lucky at the end, but you won the game. And you moved the football. 5.6 yards per play against Ole Miss, pretty damn good, okay? And then Saturday, you're 4.3. Now, well, why did that happen? Well, the offensive line's playing like crap. Yes, but it's got to be a little bit more than that. Play calling, yes. That's why when you ask me about all those things, confidence, here, yes. When you go from that to this in a month, you got to raise your hand and go, what happened, okay? I'm not going to press conference. Any members of the media going
Charlie,
to today?
Charlie, let me
ask him
say
what's happened in the last month.
The Ole Miss game might be the outlier.
The 4.3 is their lowest of the season. I picked Ole Miss because
when has LSU look like that in that special night in Tiger Stadium, where they Ole Miss gave them some breaks.
It's
Kept them in the game, and then the crowd's in it, and then you kind of you get that momentum going. How many guys played their best game of the year or the best game of their college career on the defensive side?
Okay, that's fair. Then take out the Ole Miss game.
They're not as good.
Yeah.
If they play Ole Miss again 10 times, they're not winning 5.
No.
They're not.
I don't know if they're winning 2 at this point. But even if you take the Ole Miss game out, 4.3 yards per play is their lowest of the season. I mean, this is a 3-game sample size now. Alabama.
They don't have. They took their shots and finally got the guy that's going to stretch the defense, and they're not even close.
Not even close
to hitting those.
No.
He's just running. He's not really aware of where the ball is and things. It's not even close. So that, and you over the course of the season, when you show such strong tendencies of throwing underneath,
yeah.
well, that all them guys will creep up. I mean, you know, it's balanced. It's not just balance. That's where Daniels was so good. Balance in Burrow. Balance, not just run pass, but it's also where you throwing the ball. And Daniels is even doing it at the NFL level, throwing to all 6 quadrants, you know, left, middle, right, shallow and over in downfield. You know, I mean, that's and they don't have that. So when you got such strong tendencies, it's very similar to being run heavy. When they anticipate what the pitch you're throwing, you're easier to defend.
And if even without taking the shots, if you got negative or 0 yards on almost 40% of your plays, man, you're constantly behind the sticks. If they didn't have this outlandish third down percentage, conversion percentage, this would look even worse over the last 3 games.
Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. A great team over at Legacy Title. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds in Legacy Title.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brian Kelly press conference in about an hour as a part of Live at Lunch on Mondays. The big game of the weekend was Georgia and Tennessee. The Bulldogs end up winning it by 14. Carson Beck, best game since the beginning, since the first month of the season. Threw for right about 350 yards, and most importantly, didn't turn the ball over. Tennessee got out to a 10-0 lead in the first quarter, and Georgia reeled them in. Jimmy, the talk around Georgia not being in the playoffs last week and all that, I didn't pay much attention to that because I knew Georgia got games. If they win, they're going to be right back in the conversation. And this was the one, and maybe they'll be in the SEC championship game. Maybe they won't. Tennessee, to me, is a 2-loss team. I don't think that they – I think that they would probably get in the playoffs, but I don't know that I'm ready to say 100%. And I look at Tennessee and I think, okay, they're good, but I don't know if they're great. I don't know if that defense is a good defense. So it's an upper-level defense. I think Nico's going to be a lot better next year than he was this year. But
it's first-year starter.
It's first-year starter. Watching them, they're good, but they strike me as not
that's
yet
a lot
ready
of teams.
For prime time. But this is going to be this is a probable playoff team. They finished 10-2. Tennessee?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now their schedule was light.
Right,
their schedule was light. Now this is by far the toughest game.
And the Arkansas loss is going to be ugly. Okay, when they come to comparing resumes.
What are their 4 road conference games? At Arkansas, at Georgia, 2 losses. Oklahoma, not close to what you expected there.
And they finish at Vandy.
It's a light schedule, man. And but they,
and the wins against Kentucky and Mississippi State are not doing them any favors either. That's the bottom of the league.
They got Alabama, so they won one of their 3 tough games.
Right.
Nobody's expecting them to beat. I think the Bama game's a 50-50 game. It's at home, 50-50. You're supposed to lose the Georgia game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just that's a pretty light road schedule, man. Arkansas, Vandy, and oh man, I mean in Oklahoma. And then NC State was terrible. that was your toughest non-conference game.
Yeah.
No, as the conferences grow, there's more disparity, more variance between the schedules. In Tennessee, Texas, and help me out.
Alabama will be 10-2.
No. But the favorable schedules.
Oh.
Texas is a joke.
Yeah.
Tennessee's not far behind, and Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri's the other one. Missouri's got a chance to be 10-2 still.
No, they lost that.
Okay, they lost. Yeah. Okay,
Great game.
Mm-hmm. Great game. The Cook made a difference. A healthy Cook.
Yeah.
Made a difference. And then you got teams like Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma. Those schedules are brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison. Tennessee probably would have more than 2 losses if they had Oklahoma, Florida, or Georgia schedule. No doubt in my mind. So, yeah, the Tennessee of the world, it's still hard to keep a 10-2. But, damn, this committee is doing nobody any favors by not rewarding tougher schedules.
And I couldn't agree with you more.
Like Georgia, Texas.
Oh,
what they've done this year.
Georgia in particular. Georgia at 10-2 ought to host the game in the playoffs to me.
And Texas is going to be ahead of them tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
so if we're starting 2 loss teams, to me, Georgia's at the top. Ole Miss or Alabama second. And so if you get to the end and one of those 2 loss teams gets left out, it ain't going to be Georgia. It ain't going to be Alabama. I don't think it's Ole Miss. It might be Tennessee. If you get a 2 loss team left out of the playoffs, because you're going to get Texas and Texas A&M are 1 loss teams. One of them will be a 2 loss team. I'd be nervous if I were Tennessee right now with that 10-2.
Where are they in the rankings now?
Oh gosh, I never even pay attention anymore, Jimmy. They are
right around
10. Yeah, and they're number 10.
They went out. They went out. They'll probably end, Charlie. But it's going to be. What would happen for the SEC and like a team like Tennessee? BYU lost. So now you eliminate the chance of getting multiple teams from the Big 12.
Yeah, the BYU losing late Saturday night probably saves the committee a lot of headaches.
Yes.
Now they just put the Big 12 champion in, and
you got your 4 from the Big 10, you got your 4 from the SEC, and then 1-1-1. Notre Dame won, Big 12 won, Group of 5 won, and an ACC won.
I think that there's going to be a 2-loss SEC team get left out, and if I had to pick it right now.
Of which teams?
Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M. That's 6 that have 2 losses or less right now. And now Texas and Texas A&M got to play each other. If you get 5 of those teams with 2 losses and one of them gets left out, I think Tennessee's probably at the bottom of that. Now, I might have.
They should be. They had the easier schedule of those teams.
What if
Texas
too. If Texas ends up with 2 losses, they're going to get in. And if Tennessee ends up with 2 losses.
Why? Because we got to kiss their ass.
Yeah, because they're Texas.
Yeah, because that's such BS.
Hey, if Tennessee and Texas were playing on a neutral field right now, who would you pick it? Who would you take?
I'd take Texas.
Pick as a winner. Okay.
I think Texas is a little bit stronger, but you haven't proven anything.
They impress you Saturday against Arkansas?
No. They look bad. Flat out bad.
Yeah.
So, live over here from the Beau Rivage. Again, want to thank all of our great sponsors, including my friends over at Total Maintenance. My buddy Lucas Ragusa at Total Maintenance, been doing it for a long time. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC heating companies since 1980. AC heating, generator installations, maintenance, and get on the membership programs. They're smart and cover all surfaces with discounts and extended warranties. We'll let you know when it's time for your unit to be serviced. You got all kinds of things to worry about. Total Maintenance, again, covering both Metro Baton Rouge and New Orleans areas, but not compromise. Completely different staffs and offices in both Baton Rouge and New Orleans. One-time heater check right now, normally $179, just $79 if you mention my name, Jimmy I. We are Total Maintenance in Baton Rouge, 480-1000, 480-1000.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So I was out on Friday, one of those 24-hour stomach bug things where you feel like absolute garbage for a day, but it passes pretty quick. So I found myself on the couch on Friday night, and UCLA and Washington wasn't real good. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, the Tyson thing's on. And I would have never paid for this thing, but I get Netflix anyway. So, okay, let's give this a shot. Jimmy, you and Max, I think we're at the Pelicans game. So I was on live at lunch duty for watching this debacle. So the first thing is Netflix, the most interested observer of the Tyson fight, the Tyson-Paul fight, on Friday night. I don't know who it was, but it should have been Roger Goodell, because if he's not on the phone with Netflix, I'm talking about first thing Saturday morning, say, you boys got 6 weeks to fix this crap before Christmas. We put NFL games on here because the buffer. You got a doubleheader on Netflix on Christmas Day, and you're gonna get audience. If our friend Patrick Everson said that this handle in Vegas for the fight rivaled a standalone primetime NFL game and could see almost a playoff game from what the handle was. So if the handle is indicative of the viewing audience, then Netflix better get their crap together before Christmas, or you're really going to see some irate people. But the fight itself, if you want to call it a fight, was one of the biggest farces you've ever seen, one of the biggest money grabs that you've ever seen. Tyson, who is 58 years old, and God bless, is in good shape for 58 years old. He's in good shape for anybody, but there's boxing shape and there's good shape. And this was an 8-round pillow fight where you could almost see them. Tyson slapped him in the weigh-in. I had to watch.
There you go. That was the biggest. That's the biggest blow he delivered, huh?
Which was so obviously staged, and most of these boxing weigh-ins are staged. I mean, it's professional wrestling, basically.
Right.
Okay, it's choreographed. I mean, there's no way Paul takes that shot if he doesn't know it's coming and doesn't, come back over the top on Tyson. He just stared there and looked at him. I mean, it's so obviously staged. And this, 8-round pillow fight or whatever, when I told you, because you guys were at the Pelicans game, didn't see it, and consider yourself lucky, I said the women's fight was phenomenal. And you're like, are you kidding me? And I said, ask anybody. The women's fight was phenomenal. The wrong person won. We still have bad judging in fights, even if it's female fights. But what an absolute travesty of, anybody that, paid to go or whatever. My goodness, it was more like a cocktail party with all of the celebrities and all that stuff. But I got to tell you how I watched the first 4 rounds of the fight, because Netflix crashed, of course. And my wife is on the sofa with me, and she's scrolling through X, and she says, hey, I got the fight right here. I said, well, where are you getting it from? And she said, Antonio Brown's streaming it. I said, Antonio Brown? She said, yeah. And sure enough, Antonio Brown was streaming the fight on X with off of the big screen at AT&T Stadium, which, of course, is gigantic. And so not only did you get to watch the fight with Antonio Brown, you got to hear Antonio Brown's crew, which was lively, okay, and uncensored. And it started, you could see he had 4 million followers watching the fight with him when it started. And about the 4th round, it had gotten up to 5.5 million, word had gotten out. And then Antonio Brown's thing crashed. So the whole night, Antonio Brown's Twitter feed, more powerful than Netflix. You got until Christmas to get it fixed. This may reappeal to more in no class. Live at the Beau Rivage, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brian Kelly press conference in about 40 minutes. Saints beat the Browns yesterday, 35-14. Scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to break open a tie game. Jameis Winston starting for the Browns yesterday. And we told you about our friends from Cleveland. Jimmy, I want to be happy. If I'm a Saints fan, you just take this game in a vacuum, okay? You say, tie game, going into the fourth quarter, you score 3 touchdowns. Taysom Hill has a historic game. No, literally, a historic game with 3 touchdowns on the ground, 138 yards. He caught another 50 yards worth of passes. He threw, for 18 yards. He did throw an interception, but it was one of those games where, you'll say, well, what was Taysom Hill's best game? Well, this is going to be number 1, 2, or something like that when his career is over. And you say, oh wow, unforgettable performance. Seriously, I'll remember this from Taysom Hill when he's finished. You say, Taysom Hill, oh yeah, that day in the dome. And the Saints win, and it's their second straight, and it's the middle of a homestand. Aren't things great? And I'm just sitting there going, this is such fool's gold. And I got to be careful when we're here, because they're Saints fans, and I tell you this all the time. We live in our sports bubble. There are people that they're just Saints fans. They wake up on Sunday morning, hey, let's watch the game. Go Saints! The Saints won. It's awesome. Pour me another one. And then the game's over. And whether they win or lose, it's okay. And they go back to work on Monday and they forget about the Saints.
Strictly entertainment.
And they're happy because the Saints won. And they don't. I'm almost jealous of them at times because they're unencumbered by big picture and the whole thing.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, I would love to watch a game like that, like I was a kid again. Just I don't have to worry about all this other stuff and how this is affecting it. But this is just fool's gold. You beat a bad team with a performance that. I love Taysom Hill. He's he's a unique player. I enjoy watching him play. But if this is how you got to win games, it's not sustainable. It's like last week, what's Darren Rizzi done as the coach? Well, he's installed some enthusiasm. I'll give him that. But last week, Younghoe Koo misses 3 field goals. He's never done that, So is that sustainable, or is it fool's goal? It's fool's goal. So I want to be, as a Saints fan, I want to be happy. And I watch this and, okay, they won. That's great. The Giants put Tommy DeVito in the starting lineup. I get that they got to play. I'm not asking
professionals.
I'm not asking them to go out there and lay down at all.
And you're not a season ticket holder either.
And I'm not.
And if you would probably have a different perspective if you did.
Absolutely.
You don't want to go pay your money to go see him tank.
Of course not. And I used to be a season ticket holder, so I know.
I went to a G League game Friday night.
Right. With the Pelicans.
It was who are these guys? Where are they from?
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't know,
So I get all of that, and like I said, I want to be happy, but I watched the Giants put Tommy DeVito in the starting lineup. They're going to be playing the Saints in a couple of weeks, and so probably the Saints will win that game. And they may beat the Raiders, and they're gonna limp home with 6 or 7.
Well, McCoy
wins.
being back, it makes a difference, man.
It does. No,
I'm sorry.
They're a better team.
No, they're a better team. They're playing harder, and
I don't believe in the process that they're doing. I just don't. And I'm tired of pretending that, hey, one more little this and one more little that, and and this just gives them the ammunition.
8-9 is worse than 4-13.
Way worse. In my opinion.
I get it.
And it's not
the future.
It's not the
they
draft
need
pick.
draft capital.
They do.
It's
a little bit about the draft pick. But it's not like I'm dying for, Andrew Luck is
you
out
think
there.
that with a little bit of respect here, keep a guy like Loomis around.
Yes, that's my deal. This is not going to change Mickey Loomis's arrogant approach to this at all. It's going to fuel it.
Well, let's just we also give out picks and handicap it, and there was actually a lot of sharp money on Cleveland yesterday.
Yeah.
And all the guys, and some guys I really respect you, they don't bring up McCoy a whole lot. He's so big. He is a difference maker. He is kind of like DeForest Buckner for the Colts, man. That guy in and out of the line, that makes a difference. And you give Carr some time, Charlie. He's good. He's good. Every quarterback better with protection. I get it, but
sure.
He is about as night and day with and without protection that I can see. I mean, he bails on the least amount of pressure. Man, he throws a nice ball when he has it. And, now Kubiak with, can kind of do his creative things. And Hill has always been a crowd favorite. He plays so hard. And
absolutely.
And he's a unique player as well, truly unique. There's nobody that does what he does and lines up at all play. He lined up at fullback, at wide out, at quarterback. I mean, just everything. He's blocked punts in his career.
Yeah,
He's
fun to watch. I appreciate his talent. Here's another one. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. In the last, 2 weeks, just since he got there, 3 weeks since he got there, has made a difference. He's leading the team in receiving and touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, and he looks, fantastic. But I know that Valdez-Scantling is on his fourth team in 4 years for a reason.
Yeah,
okay?
he's not as good as the other guys that are hurt right now.
No.
Not even close. But he'd be a decent piece as a complimentary role.
If I were the Green Bay Packers, okay, and maybe I shouldn't bring up the Packers because that's where he started, but if I were a playoff team and I needed to plug in a guy, okay, maybe not like not the Chiefs or anything, but if I was a fringe playoff team, I just pick Green Bay, and I could plug this guy in and he gives me 3 games like this, that's awesome. Man, this is manna from heaven that I find a guy like this that can play in the middle of the season. I'm on a team that's going nowhere, and he's popping some numbers. That's great. It's not sustainable. Do I think I'm going to go to camp next year and Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to be a guy that catches 80 balls for them next year? I mean, it's wonderful. I'm glad he's playing well, but it's almost patronizing. And I'm going to say this too, and we love her, okay, but Miss Gale had a hand in the Dennis Allen firing, right?
Yes.
And we think that at least part of it, maybe not even 20% of the reasoning, but at least a small part of it was what? We got 3 home games coming up. I don't want the Superdome to be a morgue. We got to get this guy out of here so we can get some enthusiasm back in the dome for these 3 home games, of which they've won 2 in a row now. And so you get this bye week, so you get to kind of get the sugar high keeps going. And then you get a game against the Rams, and they could beat the Rams. I don't know if they will, but they could. And so you say, oh, wow, we made the coaching change. We got a couple of players back. We won all 3 games in the Dome. Man, we told you. It was just the injuries. And it's lipstick on a pig. It's you're painting over the mud daubers at that point. I'm sorry. I'd like to be – I hate to be the wet blanket on the win. Good for the guys. I understand they're pros and they got to go play hard, but I just sat there thinking to myself,
why don't you make a little money on them while you can, man?
Because I don't know for sure they're going to win. I mean,
if Eric McCoy is in there, they're going to be a better team, Charlie.
No, a better
they're going
team,
to be a better team. You see Demario Davis take the guy's head off yesterday?
Demario Davis can still play. He's not one of my problems.
He smoked that guy yesterday, man. It was impressive.
I mean,
one of the Cleveland's still playing. Cleveland's in a similar situation. They're still playing. Are they not?
Jameis was playing yesterday. I mean, their records.
I could not believe how many yards he threw for 2 TDs, no interceptions, and this guy was. I mean, it was like he was the worst quarterback he's ever seen.
Yeah, that was a high performance. They threw the ball 46 times. Jameis has got that. He can flash from time to time. I mean, it's not like he's a talentless guy.
He's going to throw it in there.
I mean, yeah, he's going to put the ball. He's going to put the ball in the air. So, okay, if you're Cleveland yesterday, and who has the big game? Jerry Jeudy. All right, Jerry Jeudy had 6 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown.
Wow, Peyton couldn't wait to get him out of Denver.
Of course, he's a complete bust.
He's an overrated Alabama guy. I mean, it just the deal. Surrounded by a bunch of great talent, looks better than he is.
That's roughly twice as many yards as he's had in any other game this year.
Yeah.
So you go, oh wow, look, Jerry Jeudy, this is what we signed. No, this is an outlier.
Sean Payton had a good game yesterday.
He did.
Looked sharp too.
Bo Nix.
Yes.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns.
Second choice for Offensive Rookie of the Year now. Not close.
Yeah.
But little by little, I thought he took a big step forward yesterday. It's Atlanta. They're bad on defense. I mean, what's Atlanta's record now? About 500?
6-6, I think. Yeah, something along those lines. Was impressive.
Can't catch Atlanta? Saints win the division 8-9.
They're 6. Atlanta 6-5. Sure. Win the division. Great, man. Guys, awesome.
Who dat?
You're going right. What was impressive to me about Denver yesterday, they bounced back off of a really heartbreaking loss. I mean, they got a 35-yard field goal to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and it gets blocked.
It was like,
and they bounced back from that and rout the Falcons.
Guys are taking numbers, like the DMV, taking numbers to block that thing. About 5 guys could have blocked it.
It was bad execution, no doubt. But you got a 35-yard field goal at the gun to beat Kansas City. You feel pretty good about your chances.
I mean, Peyton's doing a good job, man. I mean, they smoked Atlanta. I mean, they're getting better. Nix is getting better.
Mm-hmm. Sean Payton's a good coach.
Yeah.
I
but Charlie last year, what kind of job did he do?
I thought he did a really good job. I thought they were awful at the beginning. They gave up 70 to the Dolphins. Okay, they're embarrassed. But then they put together a 5-game winning streak. They got better.
What was their final record?
8-9, I think, or 7-10.
I think it's
something like that.
I think 8-9.
Yeah, with that group, that was pretty good.
Okay,
but I
thought it was pretty.
They were 8-9 last year.
That was pretty okay.
Well,
given
the hand he was dealt.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, is Pittsburgh getting more out of Russell Wilson than he did?
They are.
Okay. Why? Should we give Sean Payton the benefit of the doubt? Why are they able to do more with Russell Wilson than him?
Wilson was actually not playing all that terrible at the end of last season for Denver. They just were sick of his attitude.
Let me tell you, the box score and the eyeball were two different things. He was not good last year. They were scared to death. He's pushing the ball again like he used to. They're throwing vertically. I mean, his yards per attempt is going way up from what it was last year. They were scared to death of him. They would only let him throw to the tight ends.
He's playing better this year. I'm not going to argue that.
And I think he's in better shape too.
He is.
But Pay, we can't just. I mean, that's not fair. Just give him a pass because those two couldn't see eye to eye. I mean, they're eating. They're paying for him.
Sometimes that happens,
No, it wasn't his guy.
It wasn't his guy.
It was his hand-picked guy, and maybe it wasn't his first hand-picked guy, but that was he saw something in Nix that he could get. Brandon Stokely had done some work with him. He said no, before the draft, he's going to get a quarterback,
and it was
he is going to get a quarterback.
It was a bold move to swallow all that dead money to move Wilson. Okay.
But as far as Nussmeier and some others, Bo Nix. If he'd come out early, Bo Nix has a chance because he's got ability, but he has so many starts, so many reps.
It helps.
I mean, it helps. Brock Purdy would not be in the league if he had like 20 starts in college. No way. He was the last guy picked to begin with. But he's gotten so many reps, man, and Nussmeier with Underwood coming in, and you got to finish off the recruiting battle with Underwood. Then Nussmeier's got a personal decision to make, but you want to try and rebound this damn program and get it going? We'll start right there. That would be a very good situation.
I told you that on Saturday. Say it loud for the people in the back. Better for Nussmeier, better for Underwood, better for LSU if he comes back.
Yes.
All the way around.
Yes.
All the way around.
Yes. I'm with you 100% on that one. Don't forget my friends over at MR Property Group. That's right. My friends Miriam Del Rio and Remy Curry doing a great job. Big LSU sports fans. Makes for a much more pleasant experience to partner up with someone with common interests. You ever get hooked up with that realtor? They're like, oh, my God, what language is this woman speaking? No, not the case. Low-pressure suggestions when we're asked, finding the options that you're interested. We understand that there are no, dumb questions when it comes to this because you haven't, it's a big deal. It's a big step, buying and selling of real estate. Thinking about selling, you may not realize just how much equity you have in your home as well. And as for the buyer, we're great at negotiating exact price and conditions for you as well. MR Property Group with Keller Williams, Red Stick Partners in Baton Rouge, 230-4242, 230-4242.
Troy Macker from Bet Rivers when we return here live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
Been a while, Troy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, indeed. Let's start with college football. Where was because we didn't have you on Friday, relayed some of the information that you send out, but where was the money on big games and elsewhere? I guess people still betting Colorado like crazy, huh? That line moved like crazy, with up to 13.5, 14 on game day Saturday.
Yeah. Colorado to cover and to win was they were both top 10 in handle, just outside the top 5 in handle, but we're there in tickets. You know, the big wagers, obviously, the Oregon-Wisconsin game, the Georgia-Tennessee game, and Texas-Arkansas were all our most wagered on games. Oregon to cover was our most wagered on play, which was a loser because they were 13.5, I believe, and won very close. And there's, you know, I know some people in Madison are not happy about how that game went. Georgia coming back in the second half, they were 8.5. That line changed too. I saw it from 10.5 to 8.5. That was the second most wagered on one. Texas minus 13.5. That was the third most wagered on. That was a loser. Oregon money line, and then the one we talked about. You know, I questioned. You know, we took some sharp money on Kansas plus 2.5 against BYU. Like you mentioned, Kansas had been playing much better, and BYU right for the upset. They've been in far too many close games. Kansas wins outright. That was a very smart play. That was the 5th most wagered on play of the weekend. And you know, from the 80% club, not a ton of plays on tickets for the spread backed by more than 80%. Actually, only 3 of them. Liberty minus 14 at UMass. That was a loser. Memphis minus 14.5 against UAB, which is a winner. People seem to be fading UAB all over the place. And then Oregon minus 13.5 at Wisconsin. That was at 80% of the tickets. That was a loser as well.
But they, speaking of which, that Liberty, man, we know about them. They went to a New Year's Six Bowl last year. They were big favorites, one of the main candidates to get that Group of 5 playoff berth, and they're not even coming close to covering, Charlie. Yeah. I mean, it's been all year. We saw, Rich Rod, Jacksonville State beat them. Kennesaw State was winless when they beat them. So no, they just keep betting Liberty. Maybe they finally get their hand off the stove, huh, Charlie?
I don't know. Maybe you can talk to them about the Titans.
Titans, 3 penalties either led to a touchdown or erased a touchdown. That team is not good enough to lose 21 points in the officials.
3 touchdowns lost and a 99-yard touchdown scored. Hey, they are entertaining.
Hey, Troy, how about this one, though? Sam Houston State went from around 13.5 to 21 on game day. And Kennesaw State covered easily going to overtime.
Yeah. So Sam Houston State, you know, the line I had, I didn't check it right before the game, but I had it at 18.5 last time I checked it. 79% of the tickets were on Sam Houston State, and they were top 3 in percentage of money to cover at 84%. Only Notre Dame and Penn State were backed by more money to cover. And Kennesaw State, the Owls have been frisky. You know, they made some headway in basketball last year, making their first tournament in program history. This is their first year as football. People seem to be fading them all over. That Liberty game you mentioned, that was I think like 90% of the tickets were on Liberty to cover. It's been really fascinating there to see Sam Houston State, which I suppose is good. They've made the jump up from FCS as well. It was overall not a great weekend for the bettors on the college basketball or college football realm.
And kind of similar in the pros as well. And it's funny. It could have been worse had Wisconsin pulled off the upset and busted up so much more money line plays with Oregon that you said was one of the top plays. The same thing with the Packers yesterday, huh? I mean, I know where we were. I mean, that would have drowned a lot of people. That blocked field goal at the end, very makeable field goal. Or it would have been worse for the betting public.
Oh, it would have been much worse. That was the second most popular ticket was the Packers to win. The top 4 or 4 of the top 5 most popular plays by tickets, all money line, all winners except for San Francisco, which lost on a late touchdown from Geno Smith. And that busted up a lot of parlays. But there was a pretty significant drop-off in tickets from the Packers to the 49ers on the money line. So, if the Packers lose that game, it turns into somewhat of a bloodbath for the parlays. Packers minus 5.5. That was the fifth most wagered on play. It was the fifth strongest play by spread money, and the fourth strongest ticket play by spread money. All losers there. I think after what the Bears have been doing the last 3 weeks, ever since that Hail Mary, people have been just the wheels have fallen off. They fired their OC, which the Bears never fire prominent coaches in the middle of the season. So I was expecting a little bit more money, honestly, on the Bears, but I think we took a decent amount in game on the. I was expecting more money on the Packers, but I think we took a decent amount on the Bears live.
Where you guys land on what Eberflus should have done? They burned about 35 seconds left. They bring it down to 3 for Cairo Santos, 46-yard field goal. He had plenty of time to run another play. He said, well, if we run something, we're just going to run into the line. They're not going to get anything. Santos was 2 of 3 from that distance for the season. It's a makeable kick. Should he run another play? I mean,
if you're aggressive running a play, they're going to try and strip the ball and punch it out.
That's what he said.
I mean, they're going to have a crowded front. It's going to be tough. So, I mean, it's not like it was a 50-plus.
Right.
I mean, it was in the 40s, so I mean,
it's a very makeable field goal.
I'd say like an 80-85%er.
Yeah.
But look, man, I mean, it got blocked, but it's not like what Taylor did for Cincinnati, and playing for the 50, against the Ravens earlier in the season. So, Troy, what about the fight? Don't tell the betting public that Mike Tyson has aged. They didn't think so with the aggressive people. Bet what they want to cheer for. People like Mike Tyson over his career a little bit better than Jake Paul. But this was a cash grab, but that didn't. And again, roughly about a third of the states taking bets on this fight.
Yeah. We about 30 to 40% of our Bet Rivers regions offered the odds on this fight, and really there were very limited odds. I would say maybe 18 different options, and a lot of those were like round finish and things like that. So really, there's probably only 4 or 5 markets. It was the most wagered on boxing match in the 5 or 6 year history of Bet Rivers Online Sportsbook. It was the largest of the year. If you take the next 4 most wagered on boxing matches of the year, this bout did more of them, more money, and those other 4 boxing matches were legit. Undisputed, unified title matches of real boxers. Usyk versus Fury, Garcia versus Davis, Haney versus Stevenson. They're like real boxing matches. But that's why they do these things. And people, like you said, want to bet where their heart is. And we did see, on Friday there was like 61% of the tickets was on Tyson. That came back. It was about split on the tickets by fight time. And the money did go up to Jake Paul, around 80% of the money, which is a smart play here. I know we all want to see Jake Paul get knocked out by Mike Tyson, who has been an icon in sports for many of us growing up. And, as long as you're under the age of anywhere between 20 to 80, you're very familiar with Mike Tyson. But this is why these things will continue to happen, is because of how much money we took. If we offered this in every region, we would have taken the same amount of handle as a playoff football game. Probably not the Super Bowl, but even in limited regions, this would have been the second or third most wagered on college football game of the year. Mike Tyson got paid $20 million for this. The Netflix numbers were through the roof. These things will continue. Maybe not as high profile, because this is as high profile as it gets for Jake Paul opponent, because Mike Tyson is the 40-year face of boxing, whether he's been in the ring or not. But the books did take a pretty decent loss here. But I think they're happy taking that, given that, we'll continue to see large handles every time Jake Paul steps into the ring.
Can I ask you where this handle rates compared to the Christmas Day games last year? I'm asking for a reason.
Very similar.
Okay, because this is the Netflix, problems the other night. I'm trying to get – they're going to put 2 NFL games on Netflix on Christmas Day. And Netflix was a disaster on Friday night for just about everybody. So they got about 5-6 weeks to get this fixed before they try to put the NFL on Sunday.
So a lot of people wanted to see Mike Tyson knock out Jake Paul. What percentage of these people realize that requires punches?
Not a lot.
No, not many. I mean, listen,
you're betting with your heart there, so it's
yes.
And it's I've seen this with a handful of fights before. The McGregor-Mayweather fight, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I'll never remember. I was at a huge packed bar for it. And, if you know boxing and you study this, that's going to be a tactical, boring fight. But it became the most talked-about popular match of the last 20 years, Pacquiao versus Mayweather. And everyone, casual fans were there, and they wanted to see knockouts. And after the first round, I looked around and I was like, everyone is frustrated. And I should have known that. How did they not know? This was going to be a boring match. And
Troy, real
get
quick.
our heart into it so much that
Real
I knew
quick.
this was going to happen.
Well, all Houston action tonight against Dallas. With Dallas, the sink shipping.
Oh yeah, heavy money, over 90% money line, money and tickets, and high 80% on Houston to cover. It was 7.5 this morning. They moved to 7, now back to 7.5 again. Somewhere between 84 and 86% of the money, and about 82 to 84% of the tickets on the Texans to cover.
All right, follow Troy on Twitter at Troy Macker, Machir. Glad to have you back, Troy. Thank you, buddy. Good stuff as usual.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Don't forget our friends over at Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee, right across from Mike Anderson's. Again, how about that happy hour 7 days a week, huh? 7 days a week, the happy hour from 2:30 to 6:30. So I had the fajita chicken bowl the other day, man. It's really good. Love their guacamole. You talk about really good stuff. So all the traditional favorites. The Mexican pizza is generous portions, to say the least. There's no doubt. It's kind of Tex-Mex with a twist. So it's patio seating. The weather is beautiful this time of the year, so take advantage of that as well. Los Reyes Mexican Grill. Tell them that you heard us right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Again, just south of campus on Lee, just off of Nicholson, across from Mike Anderson's.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
A couple minutes away from going to the Brian Kelly press conference. Jimmy, these after losses like this, the press conferences tend to be frustrating a lot for the fans and we explained this last week. There's certain things you can do in these things. You can rant and rave and beat the table like you did against after the USC game, or you can throw the players, under the bus or whatever.
He's been very consistent with taking the bullets. Whether he gets it anyway.
It's the thing to do, and that gets frustrating for people because they're tired of hearing we got to coach better or I got to coach better.
What's
what
going
to
please them?
Nothing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Come on.
So what are we going to hear?
Well, each one would be professional, and
and he is.
Yes,
he is.
That's all you can.
He problems with that. I'm sure he's going to get asked about the play calling and how involved he intends to be moving forward. I'm interested in his answer, given that he had to play sheet in his hand for a good bit of Saturday. I think that's interesting. I'm sure he'll be asked about the suspensions. I'm sure he'll, probably sidestep that. I don't think he's going to get into. I'd be surprised if he got any details about that. But I am interested to see if he responds to how that may have reflected the attitude of the team, the attitude of the locker room. He's got to be careful not to lose them completely. Still got 2 games to go. Last thing you want to go out there and go and embarrass yourself in the last 2 games. So that's the challenge. So I'm sure he'll address that.
I don't know, man.
It's a tough it's a tough thing because
he's getting paid. He's getting paid well to do it. He takes it. He's getting paid more than any player is getting paid. So, he takes it. He's most responsible. He doesn't have to say that. We know it. But the one thing is, it's just kind of like what he's made 4 big hires, right? And the two most money making sports. It's almost like it was foreign territory to him, in the basketball, in football. And Kelly has admitted mistakes in, the recruiting approach, and that he has fixed. Took him a couple of years to fix it. Their recruiting class can be much better than it's been. The The other is, in basketball, is McMahon's recruiting class a little bit better this year. He had never recruited, though, at a Power 5, Power 4 level. Kelly had never recruited against these SEC cats.
Yeah.
The grease is hotter down here. And so that's a little disappointing that you get it, because Mulkey, she didn't need on-the-job training.
No.
And Johnson didn't need it either.
No, he didn't.
No. But Kelly and Mulkey came over with the most credentials.
Yes.
And why did it take Kelly, a couple of years to kind of figure some things out? I think it's a legitimate question for me.
It is, and the things that fix that are not quick fixes. You got to recruit better. Yeah, they do, and they have, but it takes time for all that for you to reap the benefits of that, and
because he's got the budget.
Yeah, and patience in short supply right now. All right, we'll see you to the press conference. We'll be back on the other side, live from the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. What you would call earth-shattering developments through this. We talked about it before the press conference. There's not anything you can say that's going to make everybody feel remarkably better, but a couple of things to point out. He says Sloan will continue to call the plays. He will be on the headset. He said there can't be, and I think this is really true, and I guess he needed to say it again, there can't be a conversation when it comes to play calling, okay? There can't be this back and forth. You got 40 seconds, okay, to run a play. So if you interject, if an offensive play caller, if an offensive coordinator is calling plays and is trying to get into a rhythm and is trying to set things up, and all of a sudden you interject, well, it may not be what his line of thinking was. These are the decisions that really are made in the meeting rooms and on the practice field. This is what used to drive me crazy about Les, okay? You can't interject on game day. And so after a while, Les just started, interjecting on Thursday and, sign off on a play chart that severely limited his play caller's options on Saturday. So Sloan's going to continue to call the plays. I can't help but look at this, the balance that he cited this later in the press conference, the number of runs, that they ran it on all four downs, that they ran some counters, that they ran some end arounds, that they ran, to both sides. I get it. It makes me believe that Kelly's influence is much heavier than it was before, which, as we said before, is fine as long as one person's calling the plays on game day. He said they get feedback from the players, what they want to do less, what they want to do more. I would love to be a fly on the wall in some of those meetings because obviously it was pretty heated back and forth with a couple of conversations. He said they asked him about recruiting. Of course, you can't talk about the individual recruits. He said they'll investigate the transfer portal, but they still want to build a program through young players, which is going to be interesting because their offensive and defensive line experience next year is going to be limited. And if you don't get in the transfer portal, you're going to put a lot of inexperienced guys out there. We'll get to that in the offseason. He got asked, and this one, we haven't talked about it yet, Jimmy, but I want to bring it up now. This comes up every single time an LSU coach gets in trouble, a team loses games in the fourth quarter the way this one has, the strength and conditioning program, okay? And Tommy Moffitt was beloved around here for a long time, although at the end, if we're going to be fair, there were people that thought that it got a little bit stale at the end. Not necessarily his methods, but just the message. Strength and conditioning coaches are almost always, if they're any good, the barometer of the team. They're the heartbeat of the relationship between the coaching staff and the players. They spend more time with the players than they're allowed to spend unlimited time with them in the offseason. The regular staff is not. They're with them every single day. If your strength and conditioning coach is worth his weight, he will be able to go in and head off a lot of problems, okay? If you got dissension, and the head coach is off in his office or, wherever else, the strength and conditioning coach should hear about it first. One of the most invaluable guys for Saban at Alabama for years was Scott Cochran, okay? He was his strength and conditioning coach, and he was real good at it. this is the guy. This is your liaison to the team on a lot of stuff. It's not the techniques, okay? He said, we bring in the science as well as anybody, and I believe that. They've got the resources to do that. Jack Marucci has headed up that thing. They are on the cutting edge. It ain't whether we're doing 6 reps or 8 reps. It's not the order that you're doing it. It ain't, what you're doing on Mondays as opposed to what you're doing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It's the relationship, okay? He's real comfortable with his guy. Is that a good relationship for the players, the coaches, and that guy, Flint? I don't know. He's comfortable with it. He's had success with him before. But when you lose games in the fourth quarter, it's all, are you doing the right things? I got no doubt that the systems that are in place are fine, okay? Anybody can tell you go do, this program. And you go to the seminars in the offseason, you get all the science. It's that relationship, Jimmy. It's, the strength and conditioning coach here's the conversations. They hear the guys when they're in there working out. They come into the training room. They hear all of that, and if they've got any read of the room at all.
Off season, too.
Especially in the off season, but in the season, too. They've got the read of the team. They got the pulse, and they can head off a lot of problems at the pass. So you go to the coach before the players get to – and I say this because he's saying, we get feedback from the players. I think, this is my opinion, it takes a lot for a player to march into the head coach's office and say, I'm not happy about this, or I want more of this, or I want less of this. Maybe with the position coach it's a little bit easier. But that stuff that gets said in the weight room, in the locker room, in the training room all the time, man, keep your ears open, and you can head off a lot of stuff.
Everybody's throwing stuff to see, got different theories why this thing is not living up to expectations. Yeah. So,
and I'm not saying it's a strength and conditioning coach at all. Like I said, I think those guys, they do their job. Their biggest job, the most volatile part of their job is reading the mood of the team and relaying that to the coaching staff. Is that how? I have no idea.
These type of things, like I said, these are things when you have a struggling team.
That's why I started with that.
Team falling below expectations. Yep. It's not. It's not uncommon.
This comes up every time they lose games in the fourth quarter. When you win games in the fourth quarter, nobody says anything. That was a month ago. You won a game in the fourth quarter at Ole Miss.
Alabama won the fourth quarter game.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
You got beaten. You got beaten the first quarter and the second, and all of them. What else? Diego Pavia wants to find you unprepared, undisciplined was the word he used. I think that's a pretty good read. Pavia is as good as improvising as anybody in the league.
He's running a triple option.
Yeah, he
more out of a pistol.
He can read it, and he makes big improv plays. And as much as anybody, he gets those guys to play for him. He plays with a lot of fire.
But the assignment football, Charlie, is not the improvisational plays. That's the triple option plays, and that's why Kelly compared it to Army and Navy. They're running triple option. It's just not under center. And it's not sort of that wing bone that Navy runs. But it is – he really is aggressive in hitting that corner and attacking that edge. And you better be and it's still assignment football. He also – does some of the Johnny Manziel stuff where he breaks down and he's got a lot of shake and he's got guts too, man. I mean, he's not a big guy, but man, he is running hard, and he's also got again a lot of that ability to buy time, and you can't guard forever, you can't cover forever in the secondary. So he is. He's not a fun guy to go in there. You better be more than just going through the motions and like, well, we're just playing out the string here, because he's bringing it. I'll promise you that. So
they respond to him. He's a leader.
No, he's lifted that whole team. No question. It's impossible to prove, but come on, we've seen Vanderbilt team. The Vanderbilt roster didn't just flip all of a sudden.
You can see it, and I think more than X's and O's and more than practice time and feedback and who's calling the plays and all that stuff, it's a lot about attitude. What kind of attitude are you going to show up with Saturday? I think that there's not anything left on the goals list to play for, but from a Just from how this looks.
Okay, well, what do you think about their effort, their intensity on Saturday? I didn't think that was a problem.
I didn't think the intensity was a problem. I thought the focus was, and again,
What makes you say that?
I go back to the
pre-snap penalties.
The pre-snap penalties. I go back to that first drive of the game where, and I'm it's on the coaches too. Okay, are you really focused if you don't have a 4th and 1 play ready to go? And are you really focused if the 4th and 1 play you run is to one of your weakest blockers? Are you really focused if you got 2 different defenses called on the play that puts the game away for Florida? I mean, the focus, not intensity. They run hard. I mean, that's not a problem.
Charlie, I don't know as a coach you lose focus like that. I just think that's poor decision making. I think it's just good.
We may be calling it something different, but
I don't know any coaches that you go and play an SEC game, and especially when you got some heat that they're trying. I'm talking about the energy and the desire of the team now that they've pretty much been knocked out of it. I don't know if it was so much. I just don't know if we got the dogs, man.
Yeah, well, okay. Then I'll give you down 2 scores with 3.5 minutes to go. They're not moving all that fast.
That box score doesn't tell me they were,
Well, let's go back to the end of the game. After the touchdown, the linemen are walking.
This is a team that played 2 top 10 teams off their feet. So, I mean,
a month ago,
Well, Georgia was a couple weeks ago. Tennessee was about a month ago. I'm talking about Florida.
Florida.
I mean, it's not like Sun Belt Billy, and all that. The ridicule, but they have kept it together. We didn't need the LSU game to convince us of that.
Right? No, they're still playing hard.
And they just. And you want to talk about a team deflating when they lose their quarterback because they got. I don't know what that was in Austin. I mean, you playing with one.
You saw that quarterback. I know. He was overmatched.
I know.
Yeah.
But to that much, I mean, it was just. I don't know, man. I was just for a team. We've been in the stadiums when your coach should probably be fired. Okay.
Yeah.
It is not usually like Florida Field was, the Swamp was on Saturday.
No, that was a hell of a
that
turnout.
Was pretty. They were. I was like, whoa.
4 and 5 football.
They care.
Well, let me ask. It's LSU 6-4, 4-4 in the games that really matter. What kind of crowd do you think you're going to have at Tiger Stadium Saturday night? Assuming the weather's reasonable. That's yeah, right. I don't know.
I mean, it'll be.
It ain't going to be 90,000.
No, it'll. Still, there's some people that want to go see. Maybe you might see some tickets. You'll be given out. You still have people that aren't able to go to a lot of the games because of just cost or whatever that might scoop up those tickets.
Yeah, I'm not saying the stadium's going to be empty, but
I don't.
It's probably going to be in the 70,000 range, if I had to guess.
It's not Alabama and Ole Miss, obviously. Okay, it's Vanderbilt, and as good as far as Vanderbilt has exceeded expectations this year,
they're still Vanderbilt. Yeah,
I mean, only private school in the league, man.
When you get your season tickets at the beginning of the year, if you got to pick one SEC, if you're going to miss one SEC game, this is probably the one you picked back in September.
Do they have an AD yet? I mean, what was it where they didn't have like a sports administration staff?
They had for a while.
It was something for a while.
They were running the athletic department out of the president's office.
Yeah.
For a period of time. Now I think they've reinvested since then.
Was it that long ago, Charlie?
I know. I remember it very well. It's sent some not shockwaves because Vanderbilt doesn't shockwave anybody, but it was definitely raised some eyebrows, I would say, around the league. We can nitpick this thing to death.
It's at night, huh?
It is at night. The kickoff's back. It's all the way almost to 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Can he get them to play hard, and can they be focused, and can they play better? They're a 9-point favorite in this thing. If they play, the way they're capable of playing, they should win the game. But I got no idea if they're going to play at that level. Or are they going to continue this effort to run the ball, and are they going to do that better?
What's the spread?
9. Are they going to be able to?
I expected a more competitive game than that.
Are they going to be able to push the ball down the field? That was the last note I had. He talked about pushing the ball down the field because people are getting up and sitting on their routes. We gave the number earlier. 3.3 yards in the air.
It's the same thing I told you earlier. I mean, when you keep throwing that.
Yeah, you can throw 100 go routes to Chris Hilton until you complete one.
Yeah, they don't respect that.
No,
that does not, like one of the reporters asked. It seems like they're off. Well, he's been hurt. How much work have they put in together?
He's been hurt, and maybe probably the best pass Nussmeier's thrown in the last since the Ole Miss game was the one at the very end of the game that Hilton dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a beautifully thrown ball. They probably still don't win the game. They had, to get an onside kick and all that, but he put it right there, and Hilton dropped it. So, que sera.
Kelly did catch my attention when he said that, where's Nussmeier and this and that, and because the interceptions have been so pivotal, so impactful. We go back to the A&M game. He is coming to the sidelines. Man, maybe I could have done this, but I was worried about protecting the ball. And so you've taken a gunslinger without a whole lot of confidence is check down Charlie.
Yeah. He has.
So and the numbers, the statistics that you brought out, air passage yardage, that's easy to defend.
And it's not that I don't want that to be a part of the offense. We talked earlier in the year that they were not that it was easy to complete passes. Like Aaron Anderson is a nice player, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You get the ball in his hands, and he's a productive player.
If you hit him in stride, he got a chance to do something.
Yeah, and you can hit him with some stuff behind the line of scrimmage that essentially act like long running plays that the ball gets out of your hands. So that's got to be a part of it, but the other part's got to be there too. You got to be able to stretch the field a little bit.
You got to be balanced on where you're throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And like you said, just the two go routes, you're just going to throw it out there and when really aren't close to hitting. That's that's not until you hit one. Yeah,
gonna make you complete one of those.
Don't forget my man Dana Brown, downtown Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime. Both Charlie and I leaned on Dana's team of specialized attorneys for different reasons at different stages of our lives, and we have not hesitated 1 second to recommend them to our friends in a similar situation. We're not trained attorneys. We don't know exactly what we're entitled to. What if our rights are being infringed upon? No problem. Schedule the appointment. Go to ocbrown.com, or you can just call us up at 343-1111. Downtown Dana Brown, your law firm for a lifetime, our law firm for a lifetime, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Thibodeau Store. Go to ThibodeauStore.com. If you're looking to, we're getting into the holiday season, you're looking to buy for Dad for the holidays. Boy, a ton of stuff. First of all, if Dad's a cook, you got a huge selection of Cajun cookware. You can ship it right to your door. It makes a very, very easy buying experience. The Cuisinart Chef's Classic stainless steel cookware sets are among the highlights of that package. Power tools, hand tools, drill sets, the big channel lock metric wrench sets are on special right now. They've got a huge amount of sales going on now through Black Friday, and a big Black Friday sale going on at the website at ThibodeauStore.com. Outdoor power equipment, tool storage, the big rolling toolboxes are also on special. Looking to brighten up the house for Christmas, all of your Christmas decorations at ThibodeauStore.com. And again, delivery available at the website, again, ThibodeauStore.com. Some different services, of course, that you get at a hardware store. You get your key cutting and your paint matching, but also propane services and screen and glass repair are available. Their sister property, the Pierreport Store, just celebrated their 113th year anniversary, so these guys know what they're doing. Let them help you this holiday season, the Pierreport Store and the Thibodeau Store, and online shop, ThibodeauStore.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And we're back here at the Beau.
Been a interesting weekend, to say the least. Cowboys and Texans tonight on Monday Night Football. What's left of the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, Dak Prescott done, so the Texans are about a 7.5 point underdog favorite. On Monday Night Football. The college football rankings also will come out tonight. We'll see what some of the results of the weekend. Of course, BYU's lost, the highest-ranked team to lose, the last of the undefeated. If you miss the end of the game, it was a quick kick that ended up turning the game. BYU had an 11-minute drive, like 10.5-minute drive to open the third quarter. Got a field goal out of it. I think it was an 18-play drive. Anyway, Kansas gets the ball back, goes on the other side, and they're facing 4th and 14 from just inside the 40-yard line. And they take a timeout. They decide to quick kick it, and Jalen Daniels ends up kicking it off of the helmet of one of the guys on the BYU coverage team, and it caromed down to the 10-yard line. They tried to recover it. The fumble couldn't be recovered, so they got down to the 3-yard line before Kansas fell on it. They scored the touchdown. That ended up being the only touchdown that was scored in the second half by either team, and the difference was 4 points, 17-13 for Kansas there. We'll see if the rest of the standings follow suit there for the college football playoff. I was listening on Sunday. One of the more interesting scenarios had a lot of the SEC two-loss teams that end up making this playoff traveling. For instance, if you would say a Georgia at Penn State game, or even if Indiana were to lose this weekend, if they lose a close game to Ohio State, do you imagine an Ole Miss at Indiana type game? Just, we got a long way to go and a lot of different things to see. But those SEC teams that make the playoff outside of the champion, more than one of them could be traveling into the north. So I wonder how Lane Kiffin would do if it was snowing in State College or Bloomington or somewhere that he got
be bundled up like he was in El Paso.
That's exactly
against
what I was
Georgia
going to do, that Sun Bowl.
Georgia Tech beat him by about 90.
Yeah, that was when he was coaching at USC. El Paso was freezing, and Lane Kiffin looked like he would have rather been anywhere but there. And the team played accordingly.
Yes,
did Jimmy. I would say. I don't know if there's going to be any massive surprises in the playoff standings.
Well, I mean, how many SEC teams are in contention? 6, 7, 6? Because you're going to get 4 spots. Somebody's going to be left out.
I think 2 teams are going to be left out that are still in contention.
So
now.
6.
Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas A&M. Yeah, those 6 are still right there. I think 2 of them don't make it.
Well, you don't know. There's only 4 spots.
Yeah, and I think at least one of those teams that don't
unless
make
Indiana loses by 50,
right? And I think at least one of those teams is going to have a 10-2 record. One of the 10-2s is going to get left out. If you pressed for one right now, I would say that the 10-2 that's going to get left out is Tennessee, because if Texas beats Texas A&M, that's 3 losses for Texas A&M, and they would be out. Right now they're still in, but they're out. So that leaves Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. And if those are the 5, I think Tennessee's the 5th team in that group.
What's that look ahead line? Texas at Texas A&M. Got to be around close to pick 'em, huh? Maybe Texas lower than 3.
After the last time we saw Texas A&M, they got beat by 24 points. I think it's going to be I would say Texas 3-point favorite, even on the road at A&M, because A&M got demolished the way that they did.
Yeah, but that's on the road.
I know. I get it. And Texas on the road against Arkansas was not all that impressive.
They looked bad.
They did. They do.
Bad.
They've had that a few times. Thanks to everybody for participating. We will be back tomorrow at Mike Anderson's. For Jordan Kinch's in the studio. For Jimmy Ott, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.